Hello, everyone. I'm North Hempstead Town Supervisor Judy Bosworth. In response to the COVID-19 pandemic, we have embarked on creating a virtual exercise series for our senior residents. We partnered with our Project Independence fitness instructors to host these virtual classes, which will allow you to stay fit and healthy by participating from the safety of your home. Please enjoy.
Welcome. Okay, we're going to spend more time with the mat, and we'll start, we are going to do a lot of this standing, but we'll start in the chair to begin the warm-up so we get acclimated with this. So we're going to start with starting with the breath. So the first thing is to be just aware, how is your breath? How is it traveling? Where is your breath moving? More specifically, where is it we don't breathe? Just let your eyes close. Just notice the movement of your torso as you exhale. Inhale. We're starting with what's called abdominal thoracic breathing, which is really the recommended way for most people to breathe. So the inhale first I'll start with the exhale. I just inhaled. I draw my belly in, trying to empty out as much of the air in my lungs as possible by drawing the belly in and up. The inhale travels from the belly into the ribs, maybe even a little bit into the shoulders. In yoga, there's a whole part of the practice. It just deals with the breath. It'd be funny as to so many different ways to breathe in yoga. But that goes beyond the scope of this class. I'll talk about only one other type of breath that will be used in what we call the physical practice, this asana, or the movement, the postures. It's called Ujjayi breath. It's the breath with sound. So you kind of breathe up and down the back of your throat, and you make a sound, what people would call, I don't know if everybody's seen the Darth Vader in the Star Wars. Had this big raspy breath. Almost sounded like when you hold your ear to a seashell. It's a little easier to do on the exhale. You could spend a whole class just practicing this, but it's about building heat into the practice. Oddly enough, I find it really calms my nerves when I do that. Then we'll begin to we'll start with our chanting. We'll bring our hands together, and then we'll start to move. Inhaling. With the inhale, I'm going to take my arms up, open the eyes, and as we're going to move right into some shoulder weight. So we're going to sit and we're going to work a little bit on the shoulders. You can do this standing if you want, but for people that feel like it's too much, anytime you can come back and do these postures seated. I'm going to lower my arms slowly down. I'm even taking my arms back a little bit further, and then I'm a little acceleration. I'm taking the arms up. And I'm going to go some side bending. Inhale and exhale. Using the breath with sound, if it takes practice. The more you do it, the easier it gets. I'm taking the arms up and lower the arms down. I'm going to take my arms around and up. This is the movement that we're going to do as we move into sun salutations. It kind of makes a circle or half circle, or most of a circle, kind of making the image of the sun. That's the word sun salutations. Again, I'm inhaling, I'm taking my arms up, and I'm going to turn and just twist. Just trying to get the body warmed up before we start to stand and do this. Just I take the arms around and up and then to the other side. As we're going to do this, these next poses standing. Actually, I call this the chair salutations or half sun salutations. Taking the arms up, and I'm going to lower the arms down. So what we do, we ground ourselves down. I'm pressing my legs down. The inhale, I'm taking the arms up. The exhale, I fold forward, bringing my chest down onto my thighs. Half of a forward fold, almost like a half forward fold. Inhale, I come all the way back up, and exhale down. We inhale as we come up. Exhale, we come down or come into the pose. As we move on, we're going to get more difficult. This gets more and more challenging. We'll get to like the mid-level of the challenging of the sun salutations. It's really to create a rhythm to our breath and movement. It's linking those two, which is a moving meditation. We'll do this one more time. Exhale. Inhale, I'm coming back up. And exhale. So I'm going to come up to stand. I'll take the chair out of the way unless you feel like you need a chair. Out of my way. I'm going to stand at the front of the mat. See if I have the room here. I'm in my attention pose. We're going to do a little bit more this time. And anytime you feel it's getting to be too much, just back off to the previous level. Again, my legs are working. I inhale. I take the arms up. Exhale. I'm folding over, coming down. All the way down as far as you can comfortably. I make my feet a little wider. And then I come up halfway. The half forward fold. It's also called prepare, but we'll get into that later. I'm just going to lower my hands down. As I do this, I can bring my hands closer and closer to the ground. Inhale, I take my arms up. And exhale, the arms down. As I do it, my feet come closer together as I start to get a little longer in my body. Inhale, I come up again. Exhale, the full forward fold. Inhale, halfway. This is important because it lengthens the spine. And now when I lengthen my spine, I start to be able to reach deeper. My palms can almost touch the floor. Inhale, I come up. And back to this. This is the attention pose. It's really 9 poses that we'll go through. This is 0, the beginning of it. So I'm going to add on a little bit more to this, a step back. So I inhale, I'm taking the arms up. Exhale, I fold all the way down. Inhale, I come up halfway. Remember I said it was prepare? It's preparing the step back. So I have to bring my hands down. So if you need, bend your knees and we'll step back. I'm stepping right, left. For the beginning, I'm just going to gently lower my knees down. and I lower all the way down like a half a push-up. Inhale, I'm into the baby cobra. Exhale, I go back, downward facing dog. 5 breaths in this pose. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now, this is the movement. So I'm stepping forward, half forward fold, and I fold all the way in. So I'm slowly coming in deeper. The inhale, I'm taking the arms up and back to the beginning. You're going to be doing more and more counting and less talking. Inhale, exhale. Inhale, I'm going to use step back with my other leg this time. Making this a little bit more challenging, I'm just going to lower slowly so everything touches down at once. You're welcome to come on your knees and do it. You're welcome to come into the baby cobra. Some people may want to come into the full upward dog, so you're just on your hands and feet. I'm just doing downward dog. If you're feeling like this is getting to be too much, child's pose. I'm counting here. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm coming out and coming to down dog. I'm going to step again. This I'm using the other leg, left foot, right foot, and folding over. Again, you're welcome to do these on the chair. You're welcome to use a chair, whereas we're going to do our poses, our standing. Well, from here, I'm just going to step out with my right leg. Hands to the hips. You're welcome anytime these poses get challenged to come into this midpoint. My legs are firm. I'm going to go to triangle pose, next pose. So I turn my feet to the side. Inhale, exhale into triangle pose. 5 breaths. That's inhale, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All the way up, and I'm going to go to the second side. Triangle pose, second side. Exhale, inhale for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Inhale up, back to center. So if you're finding this challenging, then you're just welcome to sit down. Remember this, you can do these seated. I'm doing less talking and I'm going to do more counting. So it just becomes more of a meditative practice. I'm going to come back to the front of the mat. As I'm going to go to the side angle pose next. Taking a step out again. I turn to the side, warrior 2. Inhale, exhale. Inhale for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Coming up. Inhale. I'm still inhaling, exhaling. Second side. The inhale is first inhale is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Up, center, and I'll step back to the front of the mat. Back to attention. Find the breath. You should be making sure your breath is calm the whole time. It's really meant to flow every pose into one into the other. But it might be a little challenging. It takes time to get used to this. Give yourself time to get this practice. Again, I'm going to take a step out to the side. I'm going to come into a forward fold. My legs are front. I'm going to reach my head down towards the ground. I slide my hands down. They may only come to the knees, the shins. Maybe the hands come to the floor. Inhale for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Inhale, I come up halfway. Hands to the hips, come all the way back up. Again, taking a little pause. I'm coming back to the front of the mat. So you're welcome to come out early and come back here. You're welcome to stay. You're welcome to just stay here. I'm going to do another one of the folds. Taking my legs out again. This time, my arms come out. I interlock my fingers behind the back. I pull my arms down towards the ground, lifting them up. I lift my chest and I fold over. 5 breaths. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Coming all the way up. My hands, from here I'm just going to bring my feet towards each other, setting up for balance poses. I'm going to do the tree pose. You're welcome to do the dancer pose, hand to foot pose. I'm just going to come starting by shifting the weight over into my left leg so I can take my right leg up, out to the side. So you can bring your foot into the calf below the knee. If that's too difficult, the toes onto the ground. Hands come to prayer. Inhale for 1. If you're going for the more difficult hand to big toe pose, good. Oh, great. That's 2, 3, 4. Making this a little bit more challenging, I take my arms up. If you're got your big toe, you may try really a challenge, take your leg out to the side. That's 2 breaths. 3, 4, 5. Come down. Bring myself back to center. Coming to the second side. Taking the leg up, out to the side. Tree pose, second side, or if you did the more advanced pose on the other side, yeah, I would try it on this side too. That's 1, 2, 3, 4. So if you have the toe, take it out to the side. Not. This is making it more challenging as I take my arms up. Anytime you move, this balance becomes more difficult. Body has to stabilize the whole throughout that movement. Lower down. I come back to center. Okay. All right, let's going to come to putting some poses together. Simple poses, but I'm going to come back to the front of the mat. I'm going to come into a high lunge, or if you want, a warrior one. I'm going to step back with my left leg. I'm going to turn my left foot so I ground it down. I turn my hips to face forward to the front of the mat. I'm going to bend my front knee so it's over the ankle. My hands to prayer, and I take the arms up. See if you could make it more challenging. You look up towards your thumbs, lifting your chest. That's one breath. 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm going to straighten the front leg. I'm going to turn to the other side. I'm going to take the warrior one or the high lunge, second side. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm going to turn my hips to the side. Take the arms out to the side. Warrior 2. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I straighten up. I'm going to turn to the other side. Warrior 2. Inhale, that's 1. 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm going to come to sit. So I'm going to bring my hands down, gently lower the knee down. I'm going to take my leg out forward, coming to the seated posture. My hands are a little behind my hips, but my legs are grounding me. They're stabilizing me by pressing down. My legs are very active in this posture. And I'm breathing. This is a real pose in itself. You can make this very challenging by trying to press your thighs down enough to lift your heels up. It's not easy. You wouldn't want to do that for an hour. But you can, as long as you can breathe comfortably. There's 5 breaths in this, and then we're going to come to a forward fold. I'm going to take my arms up. I'm going to reach for my feet. I actually bend my knees. My legs are active. I bend my knees a little bit, and I grab my big toes. Inhale. And exhale, I slowly start to straighten the legs. That's 2 breaths. 3. 4. 5. I'm going to make this a little more challenging. I'm going to try to grab the outside of my feet. I draw my little toes back as I push my big toes away, like I'm flattening my feet like they would if I was sitting on the floor. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Come up, back into this beautiful seated posture. We're going to do some more of these forward folds, adding a little bit more. I'm going to take my right foot up over my left leg. You're welcome to stay here. You're welcome to bring your foot up even further, bringing the foot into the hip crease. It may be a little stressful on your knees. If you're feeling any and in the knee, just bring your foot out here. If you're feeling this is going easy, you're welcome to hinge forward and grab your front foot, or just hinging anything, as long as you're keeping your back straight. Coming back up, I straighten both legs out. Again, always coming back into this shape, this posture. It's the staff pose. It's the basic seated posture. That's why I return here, to get this alignment of my spine. Realigning myself, then I'll go and do the same thing on the other side. Again, you can keep your foot here. If it's comfortable for your knee and hip, you can come here. You may find like this side is feeling for some reason, feeling a little bit easier for me today. Otherwise, we're here. And back to center. Moving right along. Another forward fold. It's called the head to knee pose. But you want to get the length in the spine. Avoid the rounding. That's what I don't like to call it that pose. Let's take so I'll show you. I'll take my right foot into my inner left thigh. I want to turn, I want to lengthen my spine. I take my left hand back, my right arm up, I'm turning, and then I reach out. I'm reaching out more than I bring in myself down. Trying to keep the spine straight. My right hand grabs the inside of the leg or foot, left arm comes to the outside. And breathe. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Coming up and back to center. Second side. Bringing my leg out wider. The wider I bring the leg, the more difficult this is. I'm taking my right hand back, my left arm up. I'm reaching up like I'm trying to touch the ceiling, and then I reach out like I'm trying to grab the wall. That lengthen the spine before you start to round and go forward. We always keep from rounding in this pose. This whole pose with posture practice, we're trying to lengthen the spine, so don't stop it. That lengthening now. That's 2 breaths. 3. 4. 5. Up. And now we're going to next pose. Taking the leg in. This is the Marichyasana. It may not be important, but it's the name of a sage. Again, I'm grounding myself so I can lengthen my chest up. You're welcome to stay here. You want a little bit more of a challenge, you hinge forward. Maybe the arm comes into the front of the leg, but I use my arm to push into the leg so my chest comes out further. I'm lengthening the spine. If this is too hard, then come back up. If it's too easy, you can start to work to turn your palm down and around. The thumb comes back. Maybe you can interlock your fingers behind the back. If not, stay here. And then we're going to just switch sides. So we're doing it simply. There's more exciting ways of doing that, but it's beyond our purpose here. So I'm switching sides. Again, I can stay here. You can start to begin this process of binding step by step. The first thing is to get the length and folding over. Second step is to try to use your arms to get more length. by pressing into the leg, pushing the leg back, the leg pushing the chest forward. And if a bind happens, great. If not, no big deal. It's only the showy part of it. This is to lengthen our hips. Great hip stretching. I'm going to come up. Skipping forward, there's a lot of variations to these, but we're going to go to the, almost looks the same. I'm taking my right foot in, the Marichiasana C. I'm skipping over B, but you don't really want to know that. Just take the left arm around the right leg and I turn. I lift up, exhale, maybe turn deeper. If you want to get deeper, you take your arm to the outside of the leg. Turning, as I push my arm into the leg pushes back. I'm turning my spine further. Maybe you can even find here. Then it's really the show, great shoulder stretch, but you don't need to do that to get the benefit from this pose. Back to center, second side. Left leg in, right arm around left leg. And I'm turning. That's the first thing. Before you can even think of the binding, before you can even think of taking the arm to the outside of the leg, you've got to get this turn. The arm here just helps deepen the twist. Maybe the starts to bind. Maybe not. Maybe it's next time, maybe never. It's not important. Coming back and coming out. Okay, we're going to do a little bit of core work. I'm going to bend my knees. I'm going to hold the back of my thighs. I lean back a little bit, but I'm not rounding into the spine. Very important to keep the lower back lengthening. And maybe you can take one leg up and you can switch them. Maybe you can take both legs up. And holding for 5 breaths, that's 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, I'm going to make this, we're starting to work a little bit more into the exciting part of this. I bring my hands down. I draw my belly in. I'm lifting from the base of my spine to lift the hips up. Lowering down, I'm going to come back up to where the second level of this, holding both legs. That's 1. You want to make this harder. You don't hold the legs. That's 2. Make it a little bit harder. You can hold the legs. That's 3, and straighten them. 4, make it even harder. Here, and it goes on from here. Going to switch again, and lift up. Maybe eventually you can lift the legs up with that. Coming back to the staff pose. Moving right along. I'm going to bend my knees back again. I'm going to open the legs out to the side, bringing the bottoms of the feet together. Remember I said 5 breaths per pose. This one will hold a little bit longer. Yeah, they believe that this was such a very healthy place for our bodies. So yoga was initially to be a healing practice. So for their reasons, they don't really, when I read, they didn't really explain why, but this was the therapy. So that's 3, 4. If you want to get deeper into this, you can start to hinge forward. Again, the back stays flat, not rounding to get there at this point. That's another posture that I'm not going to teach in this class. So if you want to get deeper too, you start to bring your feet in to your, closer in towards your body. To make it easier, you bring your feet out more. Again, you can hinge forward. legs together. I'm going to come to ground as I'm going to start to do some back bending. I like to start with the bridge pose. So I'm just going to lower down. The closer you bring your hips to your feet, the deeper that you get, but you should be able to just about touch your heels. I draw my belly and I start to press the lower back into the ground and I lift the hips up. I press the feet down. I press in. I'm going to interlock my fingers behind my back and I'm going to roll my arms underneath me. Here. We're going to breathe. The relaxation of the breath will take you deeper into this. Not the forcing of this. Because if you feel any discomfort in your lower back, go no further. Do no harm. There's always another day. Sometimes just lowering down and pausing for a moment, maybe you'll feel better. Maybe you want to come in deeper. Maybe you just felt right and you just want to do the same thing again. So again, you could come into wheel pose. You can bring your feet in closer. Again, I'm just going to lift up. I'm going to roll my arms underneath me again, just to lift my shoulders up a little bit higher, getting my shoulder blades off the ground. Lowering down. Just breathing in this posture, taking a couple of breaths. You often come right up. I'm just assessing to see how I feel. I'm feeling okay. I'm not really my best back bending day, so I'm not pushing it further. I'm just going to come back up. In fact, maybe I'll take it down a little bit here. Not coming up so high. You don't have to come into bridge, the wheel pose to get benefit from this posture. This posture is a great strengthening for the lower back, stretching for the front of the body. Most people are tight in the front of the body and we're a little weak in the back. Well, I'm going to lower down. I'm going to do a couple of counter poses. I'm just going to draw my knees in, not all the way, just enough to start to stretch the lower back. I'm going to take my right leg in. I press my left leg out across into the mat. My left leg stays pretty active, and I can maybe take my right leg in a little further. I'm switching, taking the other leg in, just slowing the breath down, slowing things down. Now I'm taking both legs in, and I'm going to come into the twist. I'm going to drop my knees over to the right side. As my shoulder goes to the left, I use my right hand on the outer left leg to bring the knees together, making this deeper, stretching my left arm out, reaching my left shoulder towards the floor, drawing my right knee the opposite way. And I come up, and I'll go to the second side. So you can see it the opposite way. Bring my knees together, using my left hand to help. So knees together, my right shoulder reaches towards the ground. Counter poses to the back bend. Always recommended. Not always done by everybody. I'm gonna come up to sit for a little bit. Well, I'll finish seated. You're welcome to come into your resting pose from there. I'm gonna come up very gently. I'm taking my right arm like this alongside my head, and I roll my head over on top of my right arm. So I'm not bending my neck. My head isn't coming out of a line. I press my top hand into the floor and I slowly push myself up to sit, coming into a cross-legged posture. We're gonna do a couple of seated postures. Any seated posture, but I would say cross-legged is best. I'm gonna take my right fist into my belly. My left hand comes on top. I lift my chest and I'm gonna fold forward. They call this sealing in the practice. The belly draws in. Come up. I'm going to take my thumb and index finger together on top of the knees. I'm just going to sit here. I would recommend like 30 breaths here. I'm only going to do 5 here. But slow the breath down. You can close your eyes. I was taught to keep my eyes just barely cracked open. I'm going to bring my hands to the floor. Now, this is meant to be with the legs crossed on top of each other, which may be a little stressful for your knees and also a lot harder. I'm going to draw my belly in. I lift from the base of my spine, so I'm drawing the energy in here. I'm going to press my hands down and lift the hips up. This is, well, with the legs crossed over each other, it's called the lotus pose, like the lotus flower. Roll down. It's supposed to symbolize the lotus flower lifting up out of the lake. It's supposed to symbolize the liberation from the world, which is the goal of yoga, to liberate ourselves from the pains and suffering. I'm going to do a couple of other little poses. I'm going to interlock my fingers. My right fingers come on top of the left. Turn the palms out. I take the arms up. And exhale, I fold over, bringing my head down towards the ground. Inhale, I come up. With the hands down, I'm going to switch. I'm going to put the fingers of my left hand over the right. Same thing. Come up and folding over. Inhale, I'm coming up, lowering down. I'm going to come back onto the ground to lie down. And notice I turn to the other side. So I'll be turning my head to the front of the room, as my feet point towards the back to come into the resting pose. It's a tradition, a sign of respect to their teacher. And I'll just finish with lying here. I would recommend laying here for 5 to 10 minutes. Thank you. I'll see you next time.